Hello and welcome to Plumbing 2, the code class. We're going to start by doing a small video here on the introduction to this code book. This class this semester will be utilizing the 2018 Uniform Plumbing Code, and it is written by IAPMO. We're going to go ahead and start in on opening this up and talking about the introduction into this. Of course, my name is Benjamin Gorham, and I am your instructor. This is a copy of my code book, and like I said, it is written by IAPMO. Turn the page to Roman numeral 2, and it tells you the copyright date and exactly who IAPMO is. It's the International Association of Plumbing and Mechanical Officials. IAPMO is a series of contractors and inspectors and self-governing agents for the plumbing industry. So they go through and they write this code book for us, and it's up to the municipalities or cities to actually adopt this code book. It goes into the history of the Uniform Plumbing Code and how it's developed. It gets revised every 3 years. The 2015 was adopted. The 2018 is being adopted. And the 2012 never got adopted. So that one was never really utilized. And it's up to the jurisdictions to actually adopt, like I said. And they go through that whole process here under the adoption methods. Revision marks. So throughout the code book, you're going to see different varying marks and arrows. So this arrow in the margin indicates where an entire section, paragraph, exception, or table has been completely deleted, or an item in a list or of items or table has been deleted. So the arrow means there used to be something here in the old code, but we did away with it. We got rid of it. TIA indicates that the revision is the result of a tentative interim amendment, okay, which means it's something that we're putting in and we're hoping that it gets passed. Reference in brackets following a section or paragraph indicates that the material has been extracted from another document. This reprinted material is not the complete and official position of the source document on the reference subject that is represented by the standard in its entirety. So in other words, they take something from a different document and put it into the code book. And it's not necessarily what is written by IAPMO. You have this double right angle right here, which is 2 arrows. That indicates that the text or table has been relocated within the code. The following page is a list of chapters. Here are your chapters in the Uniform Plumbing Code. Chapter 1 is administration. Chapter 2, now this is my theory on this. I really believe Chapter 2 should be Chapter 1 because it's definitions. And there's all kinds of information in Chapter 1 where you're looking at it saying, all right, what the heck is an authority having jurisdiction? You have to go to Chapter 2 to figure out what's in Chapter 1. So I don't understand why they didn't put definitions Chapter 1, but my only guess is they figure administration is the most important, therefore it is Chapter 1. So yeah, administration, definitions. Chapter 3 is general regulations, which are regulatory statutes and code sections that pertain to all systems of the plumbing industry. And then you go to Chapter 4, which is plumbing fixtures and fixture fittings. And then you go to Chapter 5, which is water heaters. Chapter 6, which is water supply and distribution. Chapter 7, which is sanitary drainage. Chapter 8, indirect waste. Chapter 9, vents. Chapter 10, traps and interceptors. Chapter 11, storm drain. Chapter 12, fuel gas piping. Now you stop at Chapter 12. That is most of everything we deal with. Okay, chapters 1 through 12. Then you start getting into the specialty aspects of plumbing, where Chapter 13 deals with med gas. Chapter 14 is fire stop protection through penetrations that are fire rated. Chapter 15, alternate water sources for non-potable applications. So you've got reclaimed water, the stormwater and all that. Well, not stormwater, but the different applications for gray water. Chapter 16 is non-potable rainwater catchment systems. Chapter 17 is a list of referenced standards. Okay? Then you start getting into the appendix. Appendix A, recommended rules for sizing the water supply system. Appendix B, recommended rules, explanatory notes on combination waste and vent systems. C, alternate plumbing systems. D, sizing stormwater drainage systems. Appendix D coincides with Chapter 11. Appendix A coincides with Chapter 6. Appendix B, obviously combination waste and vent systems. You know what? Let's do this real quick. Let me see. We'll use a red marker. No, we will not use a red marker. We will use highlighters. I've got all kinds of stuff. Where's my blue? All right, check this out. Blue. Water supply. First off, let me explain the way I look at these chapters. Administration, regulations, definitions, it's all stuff that we need to know prior to doing any kind of an installation. And then the next step is knowing what kind of plumbing fixtures I have. All right? So that's the next item on the code list for chapters, are your plumbing fixtures and fixture fittings. Then you can go into a frame of mind of, okay, what's more important to me in life? Drinking water or going to the bathroom? And really what's more important is drinking water, because if you don't drink water, you're going to die. So a water heater, which is really essentially a fixture, would be its own specific chapter, because it's the largest chapter in the code book. There's so much information on water heaters, and it's all right there, but it's still considered a fixture or an appliance. But then you start getting into water. So your water supply system, which is chapter 6, right? But then you start getting into waste. And the waste, which is where after you're done drinking, you obviously have to let it out, right? But the waste goes from chapter 7, which pertains to a form of waste, all the way through chapter 11. So 7 to 11 deals in one form of waste or another. The sanitary waste, which is the most common, and then you got indirect waste, which is kitchens and restaurants and that sort of thing. Venting, traps and interceptors, all part of the waste and vent system. So those are 7, 8, 9, and 10. Chapter 11 is storm drainage. So obviously it's part of a drainage system. It conveys storm waste, but it's still a drainage system. Then you get into the next one, which is the least important but most dangerous of the three. My orange highlighter is yellow. Fuel gas piping. Fuel gas piping is ran by plumbers, and it runs for heating, dryers, the stove, the range, anything that requires a natural gas or liquid propane gas, we run the piping for. So the way I look at the chapters are based on priorities, okay? Like I said, water, then waste, then gas piping. It's an easy way of remembering the chapters of the code. Okay? And then the next page right here, Roman numeral 7, goes into each chapter and what each chapter deals with. Okay? Tells you what each chapter does. Then you get into who wrote it, who's part of the committee on IAPMO. Then you start getting into this page. Didn't used to have this in the older codes, but it really helps out. These are section relocations. Okay? This is where in the 2015 edition, we'll say this one here, chapter 1312.8.1. Used to be right here. Now it's in chapter 1311.9.1. So if you did know where something was in the older edition, you can go here and say, oh, they moved it around in the new code. It's a nice little table. It helps out a little bit. You know what I mean? They made a lot of revisions between the 2015 and the 2018. Now you get into the table of contents. The table of contents, I went ahead and highlighted for chapter 1 these sections. Now, if you take a look at this one, general, it's 101.0. And then applicability is 102.0. And then 103.0 is duties and powers of the authority having jurisdiction. So what we're doing here is we're sectioning off the chapter into different sections. Okay? We can go, let's talk about applicability, 102.0. Then you go 102.1, conflicts between codes. So it's the applicability of the code. It's what is applicable. Existing installations. How is the existing code, how is this code applicable to existing installations? Do you see what I'm saying? So anything that's applicable as far as the code goes, all these little subsections deal with this specific subject. Permits. Where are permits required? Where are permits exempt from work? Where do I get the application for a permit? Where do I get my permit issued? And what are my permit fees? All pertaining to permits, all section 104.0. These are all the little subsections, but that is how you look at this code. Let's find a code section that is more than just 1 point. Let's see, we're going to have to probably go to chapter 5 before we hit one of those. Okay, let's do this one. Right here. Table 510.1.21. Table 510.1.22. Table 510.123. You see how the table is in parentheses right here? You got different tables for the same code section. So the table number, which is 510.1.2, pertains to this code section, multiple appliance vent table. So it's 510.21 through 510.29. Okay? That's what they're talking about. I'm sorry, strike that. It's 510.1. They're going 510.121 through 510.126. These up here, 510.2, are for 510.2. Okay? And then you have, well, you get the idea. So we go through, and let's go to chapter 8. So here's chapter 8. Okay? Chapter 8 is indirect waste. Your general rules are section 801. And it talks about applicability and the air gap and how it's required. And that's all the general rules. Okay? And that's all 801.1. 801 point whatever. Then you get to 802 and it's the approvals. The approval for the indirect waste is a very short section. It's 802.0 and 802.1. But go to section 80, let's go 803.2. It tells you specifically copper and copper alloys, and it tells you the page number. So if I go 803.2, and I'm going to be talking about indirect waste, okay, indirect waste piping, and I'm going to talk about the material of copper and copper alloy on page 139. So if I go to page 139, and I check 803.0 indirect waste piping, and I was looking at 803.2, which is my copper and copper alloy. It goes on to tell me that joints and connections in copper and copper alloy pipe and tube shall be installed in accordance with section 705.3. So I go from one code section, which is 803.2, all the way over to another code section to tell me exactly how I'm going to put this copper pipe together for an indirect waste. So why do I go back to section 705.3? Because 7 is sanitary waste. And because 7 is sanitary waste, it is the standard of all the rest of the waste systems. Okay? So we go back to 705.3 and we talk about copper or copper alloy pipe and joints. And then it tells you you got to braze it or you got to solder it, or mechanical joints if you can actually utilize mechanical joint in the application that it's approved for. And obviously over here you can thread it because you can actually thread copper pipe. So that's an example on how to navigate through this table of contents. And the really neat thing is, like I said, it didn't used to be this way with the code. They didn't used to section off each and every section and tell you what is in everything. So if you ever run across a situation where, let's say I'm looking at venting and I want to know the maximum distance of my vent system, well, here's chapter 9, here's vents, and I can go through and I can look at everything that's here and see if there is a type of code section that tells me what my maximum length for a vent is. I got general applicability, blah, 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 size, length. Code section 904.2, page 143. So now my question was, how long can I run a vent? Well, it's going to tell me on page 143. So you go ahead and you cruise over to 143. Section 904.2 specifically says not more than 1/3 the total permitted length in accordance with table 703.2. There's chapter 7 again, and this time we're in chapter 9. Again, everything refers back to 7, okay? Of a minimum size vent shall be installed in the horizontal position. So chapter 7, table 703.2, I believe we were just there on that page. So this table right here, this is the master key for sizing all waste and vent systems, is this table. So this will sit there and tell us what our vent piping distance is maximum, okay? So let's say we're running a 2-inch vent, and it says here that I can run maximum length in feet for a vent pipe, 120 feet for 2-inch pipe, okay? Well, that code section back there, chapter 9, this thing told me that I can only go 1/3 of that total developed length in the horizontal. So if I'm being told to run 120 feet, 1/3 of 120 is how much? 40 feet. So in the horizontal or flat, I can run a 2-inch vent 40 feet. If I go longer than 40 feet, then I got to upsize my pipe 3-inch the entire length, and then the distance goes out the window and I can run it as long as I want. I just have to increase my pipe size. And we'll go into the reasons behind all of that later on when we get to these chapters. Right now, it's just navigating through. That's all I'm trying to do. Okay. So, table of contents, like I said, very informative. Tells you a lot of different things, what I need to know about specific types of topics. And it tells me the page number. Then, you've got in the back of the book, the index. The index is specific to topic only. And what this will do is refer to the chapter and the section where I can find a topical question. So remember we were doing venting and lengths of venting? So let's do the same thing with that. So we're going to go ahead and go all the way to V. Vent, right? So we're looking at plumbing vents. And then we look through here and try and figure out what we want as far as length of a vent, right? So we come over here. We've got we've got grade, flashings, fittings, expansion joints. What about length? Length. So the length of the vent. I can go table 702.1, table 703.2, or section 904. It doesn't specify much more than that except for going to section 904. But it doesn't tell me the page. So you go to the index if you want, and if you want to try and find your information this way, then from here, from right here, I would have to go all the way back to my table of contents to figure out what page those are on. Or do it the old school way and just start thumbing through and going, all right, where's section 904, you know? And then you can find section 904 and it talks about size and length. So this is your short 20-minute video. It's actually a little longer than 20 minutes, I apologize, on the introduction on the plumbing code and how to kind of navigate through. Obviously, throughout the semester, if you wanted to go through and watch this video a couple of times, you can. You're more than welcome to look at all the videos on this YouTube channel. So, yeah, that's it, and we'll just carry on, and we'll continue to do these videos throughout the semester. We'll hit one video per chapter, and once we start getting into these videos, for each chapter, we're going to be going through each individual chapter, so the videos will be quite extensive and a lot longer than 20 minutes. Okay? All right. Well, it was a pleasure, and I will talk to you all later.